All right, now that we have this very succinct code, we're ready to start on our game plan. Because if you look at it, right, line 1 was for each preset. That actually was setting ourselves up for the I pairs for loop, okay? And then for each event, that's just CTL.event handler. So now we're ready to start tackling the interlock. Let's write it. And we've already seen a version of the interlock function, but I want to show you a different one that works really well for these kinds of situations. We're going to call it function func interlock, just like you were expecting. And we're going to pass in an argument. We're going to pass in an index. It's a number, okay? And because we opened it, we're going to close it. And on the inside, we are going to run another I pairs loop. We're going to run for I, CTL in I pairs on what? On our controls.btn preset. All of them, not just one of them. What do I want to do? I'm going to end and I'm going to come back in. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say that the CTL.boolean is equal to the output of a comparison. The comparison is going to be comparing the I that we created in line 8 with the index that we're passing in, which means down here in our event handler, we're going to call func interlock, and we're going to pass in the I from the bottom event handlers. If you thought that was a little too quick, keep practicing using your autocomplete. But also remember, you can hit pause and catch back up in a second. So now, let's sort of wrap our head around what did you just do, Jeff? Because that looks like voodoo. Let's step through this. Here's what's going to happen. When I hit save, and I clear this out, and if I press, for example, number 3, what's going to happen is the event handler for number 3 is going to go off. That's going to pass the number 3 in on line 16. So number 3 is going to come in as arg index. And we run a loop through that array. And we're asking the question. We're saying button1's.boolean is going to be the output of the comparison of 1 with the 3 that we passed in. Is 1 equal to 3? No. Therefore, make that Boolean be false. And we go through the loop again. All right, number 2, right? Button number 2's Boolean, compare 2 with 3. Do those match? No. Set that Boolean to be false. All right, run the loop a third time. All right, button number 3. Your number 3, compare that with the 3 we passed in. Does 3 equal 3? Yes, it does. That's true. Set the Boolean to be true. Run the loop one more time. Button 4, your number 4. Does 4 equal 3? No, it doesn't. That is false. Set your Boolean to be false. This is, I kind of really like this function. It does involve me running a loop, but it is a lot nicer than me having to say if button 1, then right? Because remember the first time we wrote this function, it was if 1, else if 2, else if 3, else if 4. This loop takes care of it for itself. It touches all of them, and I don't have to keep writing code. In fact, if I went out and I changed the count to be 5 or 6 or 500, I don't have to write any more code, Nate. It just scales. It just works. And that's really, really great. All right, You have any questions about func interlock, Nate, or are you cleared up now?
Well, mine is called func interlock Nate, oddly enough, because my variables that I'm using are Nate, big Nate, and little Nate. So it's a little bit more confusing on my side, asking is big Nate equal to Nate, and that's changing the little Nate boolean. But you know what? Yeah, it's working.
All right, fantastic. All right, let's step forward into number 2, which is we're going to prepare the command string. But one of the things I want us to think about first is I want us to think about, if we have a count of buttons and they are an array, they are a data structure, then to get those corresponding preset levels, it might mean that it's actually really convenient to buddy the one control structure up, the one data structure up, with another data structure that correlates to it. Does that kind of make sense? All right, let's build an array of preset levels. We have an array of buttons. Let's build an array of preset levels that we can index and access the information from. Remember our mailboxes? You stick in the key, you get out the values. We're going to build our own array of values. So we'll stick it up here at the top because we'll want to reference it here in a little bit. And I'm going to call it our levels. R here, ARR, right? Here's our pirate levels. Okay.
There be levels on this boat.
There's
the top level and the bottom level.
Yeah, you got it. You got it. We are going to put in the curly braces, right? The braces. And technically, this is enough to make a table, okay? And there's a couple different ways to get to the information in there. I showed you the explicit way earlier, and I don't really care for that way. Another way, right, if you are old school like me, you could do R levels bracket 1 equals 99, and you could do that, right? I cut my teeth in C back in the day, and so I really gravitate towards that sometimes, but we won't do that. We'll back that out. Many of you are going to want to do it like this, and frankly, it's kind of okay. 99, 66, 33, 0. Now, where did I get these numbers? Where did I get these numbers, Nate?
Out of thin air.
Yeah, out of thin air, totally. But if you think about it, what are these supposed to be? They're supposed to be preset buttons, levels. And if we're thinking about what are sort of like good, like, I don't know, for preset levels is, well, we should give them all the way on, that's 99, and all the way off, that's 0. And we got 2 more we ought to give them, so we ought to give them, right, sort of like the middles of in between all of those, and so that's 33 and 66.
And if you are building a table and all the pieces are pieces you aren't really sure where they go, you're probably just now IKEA.
Yeah, there you go. Here we are. R levels, 99, 66, 33, 0. Maybe you're going to want to change them, but those are great ones to start with. Many of you are going to want to write your code just like this. And honestly, I can't fault you. There's only 4 entries. But one of the things I'm going to recommend to you, though, is actually to put them 1 per line. So I actually like to do mine like this. And I actually also put a trailing comma behind mine. Now, Nate, any idea why I might like to do it like this?
Are you going to comment out each line and talk about what it's totally doing?
You totally could.
Totally doing that.
You totally could, right? That is a way. More than anything, what we're doing is we are adhering to the style guide of the plugins that gets into Asset Manager. So why does that matter? It doesn't. It's a style guide. You don't have to do it this way. But I really like doing it this way for a couple of reasons. One, it makes it really easy for me to comment what each thing means, if that's something I need to do. The other thing that I like to do with this is it helps me very easily, for sure, know how many entries are in my array. I definitely can see that's taking up 4 lines. There are 4 entries. Also, what's the deal with the trailing comma? The trailing comma is there for 2 reasons. One, Lua doesn't care. Lua don't care. So it's fine. The other is that if I ever have to come back and add to this array, I would need to remember to put in that comma. And so part of the way that I never have to remember about putting in the comma is that I just always put in the comma. And that way I remember by not having to remember. I just always do it, okay? And it doesn't bug Lua, and so it's all good. It's all fine. Now that we have our array of levels, let's put them to work. Remember, step 2 is let's prepare the string to send. I am going to make a string here. I'm going to make a little variable called temp level string. And I am going to set it to be, you may remember from our API, let's go take a look at it. Our little API says the string that we need to send is setlvl:xx \r. The end of line character is always, we have to append it to the end. Part of that is because, well, in the history of the development of communications, we started with serial ports. And serial ports started as a half duplex method of communicating. I would talk, and then Nate would wait for me to say that I'm done talking, and then Nate would talk back to me and say some things, and then would send me a \r to say that he's done talking and it's my turn to respond. And that's how we would go back and forth and make sure that we managed the conversation that we had with each other.
You're describing walkie-talkies.
I am perfectly describing walkie-talkies, or I could tell you all about growing up in the South before cell phones and having CB radios, but that's a story left for a different day. All that being said, let's try to build the string that's necessary to make the lights work. So it's a good thing that we've already learned about concatenation. So let's start with that string that we need to build. So it was setlvl:, and then we need to concatenate in the value, right? And where are the values? This is part of the trick. This is part of the value proposition of using the arrays. Our levels bracket. If I poke button number 1, I want to get the 99. The 99 is at key number 1, and that's going to be symbolized by I. And then I'm going to concatenate in the \r. And so that I can see what I'm doing, I am going to print the temp level string is, and what is it? It is temp level string. So we are going to look at our strings that we are creating. And are you ready? Steady? All right, let's do it. Let's see. If I press button number 1, I should get that the temp level string I need to send is setlvl:99. That looks really pretty good. Like I might be on track here. Okay, press button number 2. I get set level 66. That's pretty good. Ooh, also notice this. What's happening right here? Why do I have that extra blink line? That's the carriage return. All right, so that's set level 66, set level 33, and then looking so very good until this. Nate, what's wrong with this?
Yar, you don't have enough zeros in that there string.
That's correct. I do not have enough zeros in my string. How can we fix it?
Hey, you get another 0 from the bottom of the sea, and you shove it in there until you can't accept any more zeros. Like a great whale eating a smaller shark, which is common in... I'm not a pirate.
I love working here. There's 2 different ways to do it. One is you could write extra code. You could write extra code that said if the level that you pulled out is greater than 10, then use this particular formatting rule. If it's less than 10, use this other particular formatting rule. But that sounds like a lot of extra work, and I don't like that. And that's not what we want to do.